I bought a new motorcycle. You want to see it? Let's go check it out. This is my new to me 2014 BMW G650 GS. I am so excited. I make T. Martin look calm and lethargic. So motorcycles have a whole bunch of classifications: enduro, dual sport, sport bike, cruiser, etc. In my opinion, this thing is a little more street worthy than most dual sports and a little more dirt worthy than most adventure bikes. This is my fourth motorcycle, but I haven't ridden in a long time. At 650cc, it's my second biggest bike. I had a Honda Interceptor that was 500. I had a Nighthawk by Honda that was a 250. I had a Ducati that was 907 IE. I think it was 900cc roughly. And then this guy that's 650. I think it's my first single cylinder bike. Probably the 250 was too. But it's real torquey. I had the 500, so I consider these about the same class. The 500 had more horsepower, so it did a better job of getting from 60 to 80, but it had less torque. And the torque is kind of fun to play with. If I find myself in like too low a gear or too high a gear or something, then it just pulls like a tractor, and it has this thumper sound, which I'll show you, just pop, 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 until it gets up to speed like it wants to be. Like cars, motorcycles have options on them, and this thing seems to be spec'd out with every one that you can buy. The wire wheels are one of the upgrades on this. Makes it a little more durable than a cast wheel for when you're going off-road. The tires are upgraded to something a little more dirt worthy. You can see I've taken it. This thing shined like it was on the showroom when I bought it, and now it's dirty. He put this engine guard on it so that if you crash or land on the side, it'll be somewhat protected, along with these bark busters. Again, same sort of notion. If you're going trail riding, they'll protect your hands. But the unexpected benefit that I love is they protect your hands from the wind. And if you're cruising along in the winter like I've been, then you know, your hands get to stay here in the draft or wind shadow of that. This is actually the fuel tank back here. Most motorcycles have their fuel tank up here, but there's an upwards oil reservoir and an air filter and some other things that are there instead of the fuel tank. You know, I don't know. It seems like the Europeans are more inclined to do things a little differently. Like, I don't know many American cars, you guys might correct me, who put the battery in the back, you know? But that's what my daughter's Volvo does. And I don't know many American bikes that put the fuel tank under the seat, but that's what this BMW does. The knock against a GS owner. So GS is, there's a couple different GSs in the BMW lineup, and the people make fun of them and say like, yeah, they just watch Long Way Down and Long Way Round and want to be like Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman and ride it around the world, but all they ever do is ride it on the street. And I'm probably pretty guilty of that. The previous owner is really not. He managed to put on 8,000 miles in about a year, and he rode it to Canada to get off-road training, and he ended up selling this to get the 650 GS's big brother, which is a 1200, and he intends to drive it to Alaska with a friend of his, which is, you know, one of the meccas of motorcycling, because there's hundreds of miles of dirt roads and it's cool stuff to see and do. I would like to do that someday too. I chose this bike. We'll do some close-up while we talk. I chose this bike because it's my fourth motorcycle, right? Until you've had like a 900cc or even a 600cc sport bike, you don't understand how they scream for you to go fast. At 50, 60 miles an hour, they are just positively sleeping. I didn't want that. I wanted a bike where the fun started at 50 or 60 miles an hour. Not one where that speed was just a pain in the butt on the way to a better time. The thing is, I spent so much time like reading and researching and looking for something that I would enjoy at 45 and 65 miles an hour that I started getting worried that it wouldn't do 75 miles an hour, that it couldn't go on the interstate, that it would just be a bike that was only good for country roads, like a dual sport bike, you know, like look, they can go 55, but they're really just, you don't want them on the interstate, right? This guy is fine on the interstate. I won't say it's comfortable. I feel like when you're going 70, 75, it's like taking my truck 85. Like, yeah, it does it, but it doesn't want to. This thing here, its comfort level stops probably in the mid 70s or maybe even upper. I think I've gone as fast as 85 on it. And I'm not sure if it was, you know, me, the rider, just feeling like, oh, this is getting a little shaky, or if it's the bike. I think it's a combo of the both. Because, like, you hop on a liter Ducati, that those things, even at 90, just feel like they're warming up. I'm always interested in the instrumentation on bikes, and this one's pretty straightforward. That ABS light stops blinking. I guess for some reason the bike has to roll a couple feet for it to initialize, and I haven't done that. It has 2 trip meters, as you can see. It has the time. This is the amount of miles on it. This is the tachometer. To be honest, I really like an analog tachometer. I feel like I can see it at a glance really quickly, whereas with this guy, maybe I need to look down, like changing the song on your phone or something. Like it just requires a little more than the glance of that the speedometer does. This is a speedometer, obviously miles and kilometers. The top speed on this bike is rated at 106, I think. Oh, that's a thing. It has 50 horsepower, and I think the torque is 44 foot-pounds. I'd need to double check on that, but I think that's right. And in motorcycle horsepowers or circles, 50 horsepower is not a ton. It's, you know, it's a mid-range bike, I guess. But 44 horsepower or torque is actually a good amount. And that's what this thing is. It's a torquey bike that gets up to 45, 50 in a hurry, that handles it when you're in too high a gear, that is comfortable off-road, but it is not a track day bike. In terms of changes I'm gonna make, man, so online they often say that this seat is uncomfortable, and I have to agree. I was kind of in denial for maybe 100 miles or so, but I swear, like later that night, I'm sitting in bed thinking, you know, like I've got like muscle fatigue in my butt. My glutes are worn out. This is just, I'm kidding myself if I think I like this seat. The previous owner took it to Canada, so part of me is like, dude, Woody, you're being a big sissy. But another part of me is like, Woody, if you want a seat, just buy the seat. You know, stop making a big deal out of it. And then the windshield. I wouldn't mind a bigger, like, wind tunnel, wind shadow behind that shield where I could fit comfortably. And the thing is, I don't want it to look like a gold wing either. So I'm debating on whether I want to have a bigger windshield. I'm going to put, they have an iPhone mount where it like tucks in right here above your instruments. And God, if you guys know me and you know me in directions, you know that I really miss my GPS. Having said that, I'm kind of learning my way around the area now that I'm forced to survive without it. The exhaust is an interesting thing. So check this out. It's a single cylinder with a double exhaust. You might think, like, what's up with that? So the exhaust is actually a single pipe. Do you see that? And then the pipe runs down here, out to here, and the catalytic converter is in this can. Exhaust does not come out of here. It's wet because I washed it, but this, like, if you could see the bottom, I bet you can't, is plugged. Exhaust doesn't come out of here. Exhaust comes out this side where the muffler is. So this side has the catalytic converter, this side has the muffler. Some people feel like that's a waste of space. Other people, like me, think it looks cool. So you be the judge. As for why I bought it, I think I might cover this again in my first motovlog, But that was partly it. I started doing these paravlogs that I enjoy doing and that seem to be pretty well received. And something about like the paravlogs or the motor vlogs, it's like the way I used to do gameplay commentary. You know, there's just something visually stimulating there to look at, and then I get to talk about anything I want. I like this idea. One of the challenges with paravlogging, though, is that I can't do it every day. It seems like now, especially in the winter time, there's just only maybe 1 or 2 days a week that are even like open to the idea of flying. So the motorcycle, on the other hand, it seems like 5 days a week are good days to ride a motorcycle. And that was part of the concept. Like, I'm able to make videos where I talk and ride more often. Now, I haven't made any yet, and I'll explain. With the paravlog, I gave myself like 2 months before I added the distraction of like filming and such. You know, if you look at a lot of my early paravlogs, at first they were just filmed on the ground, and then they were filmed in the air, but I didn't talk. I just turned the camera on and ignored it. And now I'm up there flying and talking and doing all that stuff at the same time. Well, with the motorcycle, I'm doing a similar thing. It's like, all right, Woody, you hadn't ridden in 15 years. I do have a lot of riding experience. I mentioned this is my 4th bike. I rode for like 9 years. Maybe 3 of those I didn't have a car. So I was a full-time motorcycle commuter to work, to school, stuff like that. And but in aviation, there's this concept of current hours. You know, you may have 2,000 hours experience, which is a good amount. But if none of them are in the last year, you know, it's not the same as a guy who maybe 10% of his experience is in the last year. While I have a lot of hours on a motorcycle, I don't have that many current hours, maybe 6 now. So I'm just going to give myself a little bit of time before I add, you know, the distraction of talking to you guys at the same time I ride my motorcycle. But it certainly won't be 2 months from now, because it just, you know, shucks, I feel like I'm nearly as good a rider as I ever was. I was never any kind of street Rossi, or I guess I was as a teenager, but I was never a great rider, and I was just a competent guy who did it every day. And that's kind of where I'm getting back to. So maybe in a week or so, I'll have my audio set up right, and I'll be able to talk to you guys and share my thoughts and opinions on the world and motorcycling and what have you. So anyway, you wanted to see my new motorcycle? This is it. You know, I finished the video and I put the bike away, and I realized it's absolutely criminal that I didn't show you guys the heated grips. Check this out. This is setting 1, off, and then setting 2. It is so great. The heated grips are the coolest thing in the world. I can wear a more chill version of a riding glove, like this, kind of a summer glove almost. And they're still great because they're sitting here behind the wind protection with heated grips on. It's the coolest thing. I think all bikes are going to have heated grips at some point. It's one of the things I like most. Oh, and then since it's dark, you can get a vibe as to what this thing looks like when it's lit, which you can't really see in the sunlight. So anyway, just a little addendum, a little appendix to the bike. On a side note, sharing my life. My wife, as part of my Christmas present, cleaned the garage. We were going to paint the walls and put those like pads that you see on the automotive shows on the floor, and it should be a real nice thing. I expect to fly this afternoon, so I'm going to do that too. But yeah, super psyched about the clean garage, about the new addition to it. Things are going good. I hope they're going good for you too.
Multi-million-dollar deals got $1 million deal. When I was younger, I would wonder how $1 million feel. And for real, it feel like I ain't even broke a seal. Cause when you drop hits, they want you to pick up the bill. Now my life is in Maryland, my heart is in Chicago. Chicago. New York state of mind, but out LA, man, that's where I go. When I need to lay this shit down, so much on my mind, that's the reason I'm spitting now.